guys, welcome to General Query. This is Fonz. I go by he, him, and his.
Hey guys, and this is Zuki, and I go by she, her, and hers. Welcome to General Query. And happy Pride Month.
Yeah, happy Pride Month. First
Happy
episode of Pride Month.
This is the first episode of Pride, and we're so excited. For those of you that are OGs, last year we dedicated the whole month to all Pride related topics, everything.
The entire month, yep.
The entire month. And this month we're gonna do something similar, right, Fonzie? But like with a twist.
Similar with a twist, absolutely. Yeah, so what we have in mind is like every episode for this entire month, you'll go ahead and hear like a little intro. For the most part, it'll be the intro where we share fun facts or whatever. And then we'll have a few episodes where we actually dive into queer culture. And then, it'll be happy, queer, and gay.
That's right. Yeah. My favorite combination of things, happy, queer, and gay. Because we're here and we're queer.
We are queer, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of us. I think, speaking of queer, I was listening to Billie Eilish's new record.
Album.
How fucking
so
old
good.
am I?
I know. I was trying to save you there with the album.
Yeah. So I was listening to her new album, and that song, Lunch or whatever, I didn't realize it was like a sexual awakening song. But like I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I get it. And I was like, wait, what does it mean that I get this? What does this mean? And I'm like, because if you guys are oldies but goodies, and most of you guys are, in our previous Pride episodes, like I was talking about my complete affinity and adoration for women in general and how much I love women and I like to be around them and I like to be in their presence and I like to be their friend and I like the way they smell and I love women. And I was like, yeah, but like, it's not like in a gay way. It's like, I just love women. And I'm like listening to Billie Eilish and I was like, is it gay? I don't know.
Maybe. But I go back to the statement that I made last year for Pride Month. I think I 100% believe that none of us is 100% straight or 100% gay.
Why do you think that?
And I stick to that. And I think it's just because we're not wired to be black and white ever for anything. As much as a lot of us try to be black and white, I think we are very much in the grayscale as far as like anything is concerned.
Anything,
like,
right?
Yeah. Anything. And I think sexuality is one of those things where like we are all in that grayscale. And obviously that grayscale can lean more towards your black or can lean more towards your white. And so like I think sexuality is the same way. Like you can either lean more towards being straight or more towards being gay, but like you definitely land somewhere in the middle. And I think, for example, you mentioning that you like the way women smell, you want to be around them, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't have to be sexual. It could be like maybe one woman will trigger that like, curiosity.
Right.
But it'll take that one special person,
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean it doesn't mean every single woman you see you're gonna want to fuck, So,
right.
Right. Same thing with men, like straight men. I think straight men, and I say straight because we have straight, gay, queer, whatever, bisexual, et cetera, et cetera. But I think straight men in general, have this like stigma that they don't want to be gay or whatever. But when you see straight men interacting with each other, it is very gay. Like I have never ever seen anything gayer in my life than like actual bros hanging out with each other, and it's very sexual and very like homoerotic.
Constantly grabbing
touching each other.
Each other's like balls.
And
they're like spanking each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
it's
I'm
very
like,
gay, and that's why I'm saying everyone is between that grayscale, because like no,
yeah,
that's very sexual. First of all,
no, 100%. It's funny.
yeah,
So I have, and also like this is where it's important. We're not completely off topic yet, but it's us.
we'll get
But
there.
again, going back to that weird thing about me and women, I have been very fortunate that thankfully I've been able to find some people, a small group of people that don't take the shit I say offensively or as creepy or whatever. I
Yeah,
try
or
my best
very
not to be
literal.
any
Yeah.
of those things. Yeah. But I have a lovely coworker of mine. And again, I work remote. So I've met them in person before and they are absolutely lovely and just so interesting and funny. She's a woman and just just whatever. But my favorite thing about her is she has this glorious mane of curly, wild, thick, just gorgeous hair. Okay. And I've always had hair envy because my hair is very straight and it just, whatever. So so this woman, and I told her once, I was like, I have a thing for your hair that is very sexual in nature. And I am sorry that I have to share this with you, but the thing is, and this is how it came up, I was like, I can smell it. We were standing next to each other and she's much shorter than me. So like I was standing close enough that I could get like, and it smelled like almonds and coconut. And I was like, it's like that smells. And I told her, I was like, I just want to put my hands in it. And I was like, I'm sorry if you think that's creepy. And thankfully, she's a fucking absolute doll. And she thought it was amazing. And she was very flattered by it. And she loved it. Now it's my thing. I feel like anytime she takes her hair down in meetings, I feel like she's toying with me. I feel like she does it for me. And I'm not mad at it. But see what I mean? Like, I'm just like, whoa. Because she looks like some sort of like fucking sea goddess from some sort of like mythological story, and she's just walking around with this fucking head of hair looking amazing. It's a whole thing. So when I say we're here and we're queer, that's what it means for me. Is that I just like women and being a woman. And contrary to what JK fucking Rowling with her turf ass says, trans women are women. So I'm just gonna drop that out there at the top of the episode. Especially since it's Pride Month.
an ongoing like issue topic with people like.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
And and it's very interesting to me that it's only trans women in question.
That part.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted you to talk about, because that's what I keep noticing. No one is saying anything too much about trans men. So what is it? Can we just talk about the fact that that's literally how far misogyny extends? That's the level. And so that's why I think I get so angry when cis women are out here fucking caping for this shit. I'm like, do you hear yourself? No one is doing this shit on the other side.
I think it's just the penis that throws people off.
Dude, come on. It's a penis.
Like, who the fuck cares? Like, who the fuck cares what's in your pants? Just get over it.
An asshole. But I'm like, I feel like penises are some of the most, like, probably the least interesting appendage that you can find out there. I
beg to differ, but okay.
Bud's like, not my penis.
Right. Yeah.
God, we're 10 minutes in, and this is where we're at. I don't know how we got it.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know.
It's just
bullshit.
Just something to think about, and maybe it's something we'll explore later in the month. I don't know.
Before we get into the topic, because the topic goes hand in hand with what we're just talking about.
Actually, yeah.
Before we get into the topic, I want to invite all of our queer listeners to send in your coming out story. Like,
please.
I know you guys hear us, and I know you guys have listened to our Am I the Asshole situations. I want to invite you guys, or we want to invite you guys to send in your coming out stories. You can either do it anonymously, or you can let us know if you want your name mentioned or whatever. But we want to hear from you guys. We want to know your coming out stories, and we want to share them with everyone, because everyone's coming out stories was different. And I briefly spoke about mine once or twice during our now 51st episodes. And so, like, I want to invite you guys to send in your stories. Let us know how it went. Some of them may be really happy and exciting and ideal. Some of them may not, and we want to hear it.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's very important to mention, is like, even if you have a lovely coming out story, please share it. Like, I think there's also,
we like that.
Yeah, we love that. I think there might be this, I don't call it a stigma, but almost this expectation that any coming out story has to be, or is like traumatic and bad and all this stuff. Sure, large percentage, unfortunately, has been, 100%. But we know there's a lot of really good shit out there, guys. And especially for Pride Month, that's what we want to highlight, right? Is this really good energy and
diversity.
Really diversity, exactly. So please, we'll post on the socials just to remind you guys. And obviously, if you don't want to be named, nothing like that, we'll keep it, anonymous. It doesn't matter. But please.
Also, even if you haven't come out to your family yet, maybe you're still in the closet, maybe you're still debating, we want to hear it.
Yeah, we want to hear it. We want to hear it. Absolutely. So make sure we'll give you an avenue to do that, and we'll talk about it as the month goes along.
Yeah. And so to open Pride Month, we want to talk about femme culture.
Ooh.
Yeah. And when we talk about femme culture, we talk about straight, cis women. We talk about gay femme males. We talk about trans females. We talk about queer culture in general and what femme culture.
Yeah. So I think, if we're going to talk about femme culture, let's talk about femininity first, right?
Yeah, let's have a little definition moment.
Yeah, let's have a little definition moment. Let me pull it up. Because I think it's important to have that context. Let's see.
Also, before we keep going, I guess while you research what the definition of femininity is, I apologize if I keep stretching over, because I'm just trying to be an alcoholic and drink my wine,
Embarrassing.
I know. It isn't that obvious. I was
gonna say, as if they don't know us already with our fucking bullshit. They're like, okay, Fonz, yeah, we know.
They're like, okay, great, we know what you're doing.
Yeah, we're not confused as to what you're reaching for, sir.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so...
Which, by the way, I want to point out the fact that today I got wine. Someone else got a canned good, so whatever.
That's the thing about Fonz and I, we're always role reversing. See, again, we're so progressive that way that even in friendship,
you never know what you're getting.
You never know what you're getting from either of us, truly.
Exactly.
Just ask our poor partners. Anyways, they're like, oh my God.
They're like,
okay, so femininity, according to Wikipedia, which, by the way, really quick caveat. Wikipedia is very much a reliable source of information, by the way. It's very well peer-reviewed, and if you have an extra $5, you should donate it to Wikipedia. Anyways, femininity, also called womanliness, is a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles generally associated with women and girls. Femininity can be understood as socially constructed. And there is also some evidence that some behaviors considered feminine are influenced by both cultural factors and biological factors. To what extent femininity is biologically or socially influenced is subject to debate. It is conceptually distinct from both the female biological sex and from womanhood, as all humans can exhibit feminine and masculine traits regardless of sex and gender. And that's on Wikipedia. I love that.
That last sentence emphasis. Yeah. So the reason why we wanted to talk about femininity is I think we both agree that, you know, definitions sometimes are very skewed. And I go back to my comment about the gray and the black and white and gray.
Yep.
I don't think femininity has a black and white.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, and as the definition described, it is primarily socially constructed.
Socially constructed.
It could be influenced by, you know...
Your biology. Could.
It could be influenced by biology, but I think it could be influenced by biology in the fact that women's bodies develop differently. You know, women do grow breasts. Women do grow like a bigger butt. You know, like curves and all that. Like, those are things attributed to femininity and what society deems as feminine.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that, so to your point, traits traditionally cited as feminine include gracefulness, gentleness, empathy, humility, and sensitivity. Though traits associated with femininity vary across societies and individuals and are influenced by a variety of social and cultural factors. So, to your point, so like femininity, for example, culturally, the culture that I come from and that a lot of our listeners are familiar with is we come from a largely patriarchal society, but we all know that a lot of us grew up with women being very much the matriarch. They hold everything down economically, emotionally, everything. And so to me, when I think of femininity, I think of power. I think of strength. I think of resilience. To me, all of those things are very feminine traits. The take no shit attitude to me is very feminine. Now, to someone else, that might be something masculine, and but
that just talks about my previous statement about like how society imposes certain traits to what femininity should be. Because you and I know in a stereotypical, you know, Mexican family household, the man is the provider, quote unquote, like he'll bring in the money. But the woman is the one who takes care of finances, the one who takes care of food, the one who takes care of kids. Like she is, like you mentioned, the powerhouse of the home.
Yeah, no, if you guys haven't heard Paloma Faith's song Labor, I highly, highly suggest that you go and listen to that.
I love that you're talking about her.
She's amazing, right? She's amazing, a fucking queen. But the lyrics to her song Labor are very, very indicative. She literally lists feminine traits as she, you know, in the song, and how they are then weaponized against the very purveyors of those traits, right? And so I think for me, when we talk about femininity, is that we are living in a society where, women aren't feminine anymore. Says who? And also, why is femininity only for women? God.
I'm glad you brought this up, because I think you've talked about this bitch before, but like I was scrolling through TikTok and then there's this one clip of this one chick who's like, I am feminine, or Oh, I'm not a feminist, which refer back to our feminist episode back in last year for, Women's History Month.
Yeah.
There's this one bitch who's like, I'm not a feminist. I know how to cook. Like, why is cooking a trait that a feminist or a feminine woman should have?
Why?
How is it related?
What? It's very, very, very dumb. I disagree. And again, those traits that you can associate to femininity aren't just for women, right?
Right.
Like, that's not how any of this works.
I think
Yeah.
as a queer man, the most wholesome straight men that I've ever met have some feminine traits to them.
100%.
And I love that when you were reading the definition of femininity, a lot of it, or the first portion of it, had to do with emotions.
Yes.
And I think that's brilliant because it's true. A lot of the times it is believed that masculinity equals no sort of emotions, no sort of expressions. That couldn't be any more like far off from reality. Like, I think the thing that makes a wholesome, genuine, great man is a man who can be in sync with his emotions, in sync with his feminine side, in sync with, the entirety of what it is to be a man, to be in sync with emotions and stuff. And I hate that Wikipedia has that or has emotions as a feminine trait, because it really isn't.
It isn't.
Femininity has nothing to do with emotions.
100%. And I think, so one of the things that I've had this conversation with my partner before, is that when we talk about things that are feminine, we think about them as lesser. It's almost automatic. That's society. By we, I mean society, not us.
Society,
right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Society. Like, they think of them as lesser, as this thing that's weak, right? And I was explaining to my partner, one of the things that I love the most about him, right, is that he sits in his masculinity so comfortably that his masculinity builds, right? It doesn't destroy. Because that's another thing about masculinity. And the flip side, right, is that society expects masculinity to crush, to, destroy, to be tough and beat up. What about the masculine men that build? What about the people, I wouldn't even say masculine men, the people that sit in masculinity and build and protect and make things better? My partner is the type of person that can build a house, and if he sees a fucking worm on the ground, he will pick it up and put it in grass. He's the type of person that if he accidentally kills a bee, it'll bother him for the rest of the day. That's it.
I love that. And to build on that and how he has that masculine trait that builds. Yeah. I think because I am your friend and, I've seen you guys together and I met you guys together, blah, blah, blah. And when I say I met you guys together is like I met him with you.
Right. Yeah.
And one of the things that he builds is he builds confidence in the queer community to the point where like I can be myself around him without having to pretend. Like, he's building me as a person to the point where like I feel 100% comfortable being myself, saying whatever the fuck I want because he's heard some foul shit from my mouth.
Yes.
And he never once has ever made me feel less than or feel like uncomfortable in any case whatsoever. And I think that, going back to your statement, like masculinity has to build. Yes. I think that's one trait that they need to learn. 100%. Masculinity does not put anyone down. Masculinity will build people around you.
100%. And I think, and it's the same thing for femininity, right? A lot of folks don't feel like they can rest in their femininity because they have to push. They have to push against something, and they have to feel like they're on the defense all the time, right? So why aren't women being feminine anymore? Because you're killing us. Why aren't people exhibiting these feminine traits? Because we're scared, right? Like we can't be these things while also maintaining households and jobs and this and that or the other. Like, pick a lane, right? So if you want folks to be feminine, you need to give them the space to be that way and to be safe in doing that.
And also, I think the thing with femininity is, before we go into a little break, the thing with femininity is like there's no clear definition to what it is. Like, I know Wikipedia has a general definition of what it is, and like we've just discussed, like it's pretty wrong because it doesn't come down to emotions at all, or physical traits. But unfortunately, society does play a huge role in how we see femininity and masculinity. And I think femininity, and we'll talk about this after the break, has influenced queer culture a lot, to the point where like we are that gray space. We are that boundary or that barrier between like masculinity and femininity.
Yeah.
And once we get into the queer segment of our episode, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But I hate that femininity has such a strong, well, both femininity and masculinity have such a strong definition to them, because there's no real definition to what is masculine or feminine.
You can exist all around it at the same time. Really?
100%.
Yeah.
Both cisgendered males and cisgendered females can both express femininity and masculinity in different ways. And it's not right or wrong.
It's not right or wrong. Absolutely. Yeah. So when we come back, we'll delve into the queerness around femininity and femme culture. So we will be right back. All right, guys. So we're back to continue our first Pride Month episode, but also our convo about femme culture.
Yeah. And before we get into queer femme culture, I want to talk about Bridgerton. Because I just finished the last episode, like the latest season of Bridgerton, and there's this one episode where like they're talking about this guy who's like the emotional one of the family, and like how interacting with his straight friends, like it's very like essentially what we see nowadays. We're like, yeah, I fucked this girl. Yeah, I fucked this other girl. Like, yeah, tell me about your experiences. So it's very bro-ish that way for that scene. And then he's like, honestly, that's very empty. And then they like kind of like show this clip where like his mom is telling him, you've always been my emotional child, etc., etc. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand with like this femme episode, because it's very like emotions, once again going back to the definition of femininity, like emotions are very intertwined and linked to women in general, but it's not necessarily that way. Like men are allowed to feel, and men are allowed to express emotions, and even when it comes down to relationships with women, you are allowed to say no, and you know, if the feeling is not there, you don't have to do it.
You don't have to do it. Yeah. And I think, I think Bridgerton has become that show that people love to hate a little bit, right? Because people say that it's so cheesy or whatever.
Yeah.
But sure, you can make that argument, right? But what I love about it is precisely that. Yeah, is that sort of you see the through lines of all these personalities and how people behave and how they do these things. And yeah, I think there is something so attractive about a person that takes their time with their feelings and takes their time and understands them and truly feels them. It's honestly, I think one of the sexiest attributes a person can have is this thoughtfulness and this like measured approach. Yeah, understanding.
It's understand because if you think about it, us as human beings, we will always innately just feel. We can't control it. We just feel. Yeah. We've put definitions to the feelings, but we feel regardless.
We feel.
Yeah.
We feel.
Yeah. And I can understand how like someone who can interpret their feelings have or be more attractive than someone who blatantly just ignores them.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I'd much rather be with that person. Right.
And then extra brownie points if this person can actually communicate those feelings, because that's a whole other episode.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's key. Yeah, no, I love Bridgerton for that.
Yeah, for sure.
And also I love Nicola Coughlan, who plays Penelope, who was the love, her and Colin were the love interest and focus this season, and I love her. And I thought they did an amazing job.
They did.
They were so
good.
That
last episode, holy fuck.
Oh my god, it's so hot.
So intense.
So intense.
How did this guy, like Colin, I don't know what his real name is. How the fuck did he get so hot?
From like, one season to the next.
I'm like, sir?
It's the haircut.
Tone it down a bit. No, it's the body.
They changed his hair. It's the body. It's the body.
The body is the face. It's everything. Like he went from being the chubby, quirky dude to like being fucking sexy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love it, and I love that Nicola is out there. Obviously, there was a lot of discourse around, a bigger girl being the season focus or whatever. But dude, Nicola is sexy as fuck.
Like, here's the thing: I saw it coming last season during the last 2 to 3 episodes. Like, I knew the season was going to be circled around her, just because we started talking about the writer.
Yeah, who Lady Whistledown was.
Yeah, we started talking about Lady Whistledown, and it's her, obviously. It's her. So, like, I knew this new season would be all about her, which is great.
She's great. So make some time and go watch Bridgerton. It was so good.
So good. Yeah.
So good. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And now moving on to our queer portion of the segment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as femininity, I think I want to start off with like, and I shared this to you previously, but I want to start with like a message I got from like this random dude. But anyway, it was kind of like triggering in so many levels, because this person was like, first of all, this person's gay. Okay. This person is 100% bottom. Okay. This person has a butterfly tattoo on their back.
Okay. Okay.
And this person said, and I quote, "I do not like extra feminine gay guys. They annoy me." And
what an original take.
Yeah.
How original. I've never heard that before.
Here's the thing. I used to be that guy.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And you knew me when I was that guy, except I never verbally expressed it. But when I was talking to extra feminine gays, I used to be like, "I'm sorry, not a match. Like, you're just not what I'm into," or whatever. I think where it changed for me is when I actually lived in Austin and I got to explore being gay in a different scenario, that I understood what being gay and being masculine or feminine really meant, and how those lines can be very blurred. And that's why before we went on break, I said queer culture in general, like gay people in general, are very in the grayscale because we don't fit in either male or female. We're just like right in between because, like, even when you think of drag queens, like, they are the epitome of that grayscale. They are men dressed as women, and some of them are women impersonators to the point where, like, if you saw them walking down the street, you wouldn't even know if it's a man or a woman, which it doesn't even matter. And then there are those gay men out there, and I want to say gay women out there too, where like they're very ambiguous. Like they have this very strong masculine energy, but they still have that very strong feminine masculine energy to them.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I think that that's what makes, things like drag so interesting is that, I've seen obviously our Lord and Saviors like Trixie and Katya, Bob, everyone else, talk about why they were so drawn to doing drag in the first place, right? And a lot of it was they felt like they could express a side of themselves dressed as women, right? That they couldn't otherwise. And that this medium gave them the ability to do that. And I think that's what's so important, right? About being able
Right.
to exist in this. And it's funny, you're right. Like I wouldn't have known that when you and I first met, that you had this sort of like, but you're absolutely right. If I think back to when you and I first met, that's the most straight line version of you I have ever known. It's that very straight presenting, very, this like I didn't know that you were a bisexual until we were actually, getting to know each other and be friends. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't this thing that you either made known or it was almost like I don't know if you wanted it to be known at that time, but you were just very cautious about that at that time. And I can see you feeling that way about extra feminine gay men and how they behaved because you're like, that's not me. That's
Right.
not, I don't do
Now,
it like that.
right, exactly. Now let's talk
Yes.
about extra feminine gay men because it's once again a hot topic. Going back to that comment that I read from this person, when it comes down to gay people talking about extra feminine men, we talk about, gay men that want to paint their nails, men that want to wear makeup, maybe men who have higher pitched voices,
Sure.
men that obviously take care of themselves. The skin is flawless. They have perfectly, cut eyebrows or whatever. Their hair is always perfect. Men that maybe wear very feminine, quote unquote, clothing. Um, Men who are fully comfortable in their body where they can go out in the beach and have a thong or maybe have a bikini and they have a
Sure.
two-piece bikini, like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
this like extra femme energy that they present. And so, like, yeah, to your point, back when you and I like actually went out to bars and whatnot, like, yeah, I was very much in that closet space where like I didn't necessarily want to present as gay, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote. Like I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
it to be very blatantly in your
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. Yeah.
But going back to our previous episodes where we talked about loneliness and we talked about uh even last episode, the 50th episode, when someone asked like how did you come to your senses essentially,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um
Basically, yeah.
moving out and being on myself and being out in New York, out in Austin really helped me, especially Austin. I always like, I'll, no offense to anyone, but like I would never move back to Austin just because it's not my vibe. But I did love the queer community in Austin. It is far. better than I would have expected, and far more evolved and open than the one in New York per se.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I am very grateful for, because Austin queer culture showed me a lot about who I am and how to live within those lines of femininity and masculinity. And right now I can say, like, if you meet me, I will most likely present myself 100% how I am now, which is within that gray scale. You know, like,
correct.
I don't mind talking about my boyfriend at all. I don't care if you look at my perfectly manicured nails, because yes, I take care time. I take very good time and cautious time to make sure that my nails are clean. And I do wear nail polish whenever I feel like it. And I have a lingerie line for men. I feel like that is my shining moment as far as like that blurred line between masculinity and femininity, because when you think of male lingerie, you don't necessarily think of what I'm making,
Oh
and
yeah.
there's another line out there who's very famous, who, like, they do very feminine lingerie for men or gay men. I want to say men because it's just men in general, because I don't care if a straight man or a gay man wear them,
Right.
like I think, go back to our fetish episode. There's like straight there are straight men who like to wear lingerie, and that's perfectly fine. So, like, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to down to Christoph. Like, it is very ambiguous to the point where, like, it is meant for men, like cis men, but anyone can wear them. Because there's jock straps, there's thongs, there's chaps, there's lace, there's glitter, there's sparkle, there's, metallics, that's what I'm talking about when it comes down to blurred lines and queer culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, as an outsider looking into this idea of, overly feminine gay men or flamboyant gay men or whatever, one thing that irritates me a lot about that whole discourse is that you have to make gay palatable to me. Let's make gay palatable. Let's make it sociable. Fuck you. No. And that goes for everyone, right? Like, you don't have to be palatable to anyone. Period. Doesn't matter if you're gay, if you're not gay, whatever it is, you cannot possibly expect to go through life and have a good, fulfilling, happy life while also attempting to be palatable to everyone you meet. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Never. Right?
Honestly, statement that you just made me remember this one story I saw, and shout out to Dalton Montgomery out there. I met this guy back in, I don't even know when, 2014 maybe. Yeah. When I went to Jackson, Mississippi. And I know if you're a fellow, like, strong follower, I've talked about Jackson, Mississippi and the southern hospitality that I experienced there.
Yeah.
So this guy, I met him in Jackson, Mississippi, and he just posted a story a while ago. I don't know. I think he was in Mexico, like Puerto Vallarta or something like that.
Nice. Okay.
I feel disgusted because I just said Puerto Vallarta instead of Puerto Vallarta. But he was somewhere. He was traveling somewhere. I think it was in Mexico. But anyway, and he shared in his story this one chick who apparently was laughing at them and them being a group of gay men because they were in Speedos or thongs or whatever. They were by the beach. So naturally, we gay men love to show off our bodies in Speedos or thongs when we're by the beach. And she should be thankful that they were naked. But anyway, this chick was apparently making fun of them for wearing Speedos and thongs. And so he recorded her saying, like, she kept on looking over and laughing at us. And so that just reminded me of, like, you don't have to make yourself you know,
Small.
exactly, small for other people.
No.
Like if you want to be in a speedo, if you want to be in a thong, do it.
Do it. And that's exactly what the whole thing is, right? Is that this idea that I don't, it reminds me of that whole thing that a lot of homophobes say, like, I don't care what they do, I just don't want to see it. I don't
Right.
want to see you either, Carol,
Right.
but I have to.
Right.
So I shouldn't have to lessen or make myself small for the sake of
Because you're
your propriety.
uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You can kiss my ass. And so for that same reason, the thing I am not a gay man, but I get very irritated when I hear shit like that because it's giving misogyny. It's giving internalized homophobia. It's
Yep.
giving all of that.
Yeah.
And it upsets me because one thing, this upsets me at the level that women saying that women shouldn't like have jobs outside of the home upsets me. Like the way I view it is if you vocalize and have this sort of feeling like, oh, I'm irritated by overly feminine gay men, you are on the same level to me as some fucking homophobe on the street. And the thing is, that's
Okay.
your community. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Fucking hate
I'm
it.
glad you mentioned that because that's exactly what I thought when I read that
I hate
message.
it.
And
Yeah.
this person actually said, "Oh, I just don't want to go into it because you're going to think I'm a homophobe." In my mind, I was like, "You are a homophobe, and you
You
have a
just
lot
told on
of
yourself.
yeah, you
Yeah.
have a lot of internalized homophobia that you need to deal
Yes.
with." And I
Yes.
understand you're
Yes.
really young. I understand you're really young, and I was there, believe me, during my 21st through like my 23rd birthday. Like I had a lot of internalized homophobia, and it's
Yeah.
something that I grew out of it. Come 2024, I'm now 34 years old. Like I've learned to grow into my skin and to grow into appreciating my community because my community is it entails gay men, straight acting, femme acting, lesbians, straight acting, femme acting, transgender people, whether it be transgender men, transgender women. That is my community. And I, as a voice, especially right now that you and I have a podcast, I have a voice. People are listening to us. And I have the duty as a queer person to speak out and to educate people because our community entails all of it.
All
We
of
can't,
it.
yeah, we can exclude people on the premises of gender, on the premises of sex, sexual orientation, color, skin color, nationality, et cetera, et cetera. Like the gay, queer community, LGBTQ plus community entails all of it. And that's why we're ever changing. That's why our gay flag or queer flag has changed and evolved because it is
Absolutely.
ever evolving, it is ever
Yeah.
encompassing, and it is ever changing. And so, me as a queer person, I feel I have the duty to educate and evolve with my community.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, one thing that's super important is to your point, the community is ever evolving and it is ever changing, right? And so, one thing that's important to remember is be able to fucking check yourself. Okay. Because that's super important. Like, and we're all guilty of it, right? Where if we're not checking ourselves and checking our ability to recognize our bias, we're fucked. Like we can't do that. So if you hearing, oh, if you are automatically irritated or you feel that, femme gay men shouldn't, be as flamboyant, take a second. If you're irritated by either Fonz or I saying, oh, that's homophobic, take a sec, maybe analyze why that irritates you so much. Is it because it's true? Probably, right? And to a large extent, also realize whose fault that is. Because it isn't necessarily your fault. Someone along the line, as in society, told you you should hate yourself.
Yep.
Because who you are isn't good enough. And it doesn't fit in the binary. And remember who told you that. Who taught you that? And then when you land at that fucking answer, reject it. Trash it. Recycle it. Because that's not your story. And that's not the story of the queer community. And it's not the story of us. So let's all be willing to take a fucking pause, because I'm like, no. If you want to be as flamboyant as possible, as quiet as possible, as in between as possible, that's what your community allows you to do and be. So I just don't like limits. Right. That's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And now I want to talk about a little bit about like lesbians as a whole. Because there's this lesbians.
Okay, so lesbians. What were you going to say about lesbians?
Well, that's the same thing. Like, we have to stop that stigma that lesbians have to be like this very like masculine presenting, fleas wearing, plaid lumberjack look.
Yeah.
They don't all like Labradors, you know. But anyway,
no, some of them like pitbulls.
Right, but that's my point. So
yeah,
for lesbians too, because I feel like we never talk about lesbians because hello, gay men speaking. But you know, at this point, I have come to the conclusion that it's easier for me to present as like a gay man versus like a bisexual man, because I do not like giving explanations.
Yeah, and I think you can go into that given that like the right like sort of
right
context,
yeah
right,
yeah.
But yeah, in your case, it's a lot simpler to say gay because you are, for all intents and purposes, in a gay relationship, right? So it's easier. So no, and it's interesting. So I have had interactions with lesbians in the past, and they've always been positive. I can't say that I've had a negative.
Okay, here's the thing. You've had very pleasant experiences with like masculine presenting.
That's lesbians. Right. It's always been masculine presenting. Yes.
Right.
Bonds has been around for a lot of them. Yeah. I think,
but that's my point when it comes down to like femininity and like lesbians. So I follow this one lesbian, which I'm probably gonna have to repost one of her videos. Her and her partner are fucking beautiful. They're very femme presenting. They both wear makeup. They both have beautiful, luscious hair. One of them, of course, looks a little bit more masked just because of like t-shirts and like boots, you know? Sure. But aside from that, like they are both very femme presenting lesbians. And I think that's why I wanted to bring up the whole lesbian situation, because like you don't have to be a masked lesbian to be a lesbian. Like there are millions of feminine lesbians out there.
100%. And I love that. And I think that that's very true. It's just like, for example, it's in the same way as like straight women, right? There are a lot of straight women that have a lot more masculine lean to them, right? And then you have, you know, like, for example, I would say I'm somewhere in between, because I'm not a
grayscale.
Grayscale. Like, I'm not a small human being. I'm a rather large human being. I'm a rather large human being, and I'm very top heavy, if you will. So there's a lot going on at the top of me. So there's not a lot that is like conventionally feminine and petite and small about me. I always say that like my inner self is Miss Trunchbull from Matilda. That's how I feel. I go through the world, and I'm fucking proud. Okay. But you know what's interesting, really quickly, I will give a shout out to the, maybe more mask presenting lesbians that I've had interactions with, is that, and again, this might be my bias and my whole women thing, is that I have been approached at bars by lesbians before, and it hasn't been, how do I put this? Gentle. Like, it's been very overt what the play was, if you will. But I will be very honest. I have been approached similarly by men at bars. And when that has happened, I have thrown up in my mouth and have wanted to punch them in the dick in the moment. I'll never forget, I was one time at Hope and Anchor. One time, and all of our El Pasoans will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Hold on, before you get into it,
please.
You said punch him in the dick.
Yeah.
I hope that is a All About Mary reference.
It is. That's exactly, cool. Yeah, okay. That's exactly where that
comes from. Hope and Anchor. Let's go back to Hope and Anchor.
So I'm at Hope and Anchor, and I'm at the bar. So this wasn't even at a gay bar. And some fucking disgusting little man, and he wasn't like little physically, he was just little mentally. Like I could just feel that immediately. And he comes up to me and he legitimately looks me. He like gets my attention. I look at him and he was like, "How you doing, sugar tits?"
Oh no.
And I was like, this person just come up to me at a bar and called me sugar tits. Like, what the fuck just happened to me? And I was like, I'm like gagging. I'm like, ew. And I remember I looked at him and I was like, has that ever fucking worked for you? I remember I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like,
that is fucking disgusting.
And then he hit me with this fucking well-placed zinger. He goes, "Why are you so tall?" I'm like, winning fucking combo.
You're so like, it's called DNA.
Ignorant that's a bitch. Dude coming up to me at a fucking bar, okay, being disgusting. Not too long after that, honestly, I was at a bar and a woman came up to me with very similar energy, if I'm gonna be very honest. And in this particular instance, I remember she like grabbed me by the waist. And I remember I like looked at her and we had a quick conversation and I was like, "I'm sorry." And I remember she still bought me my drink, which was very lovely of her, just really sweet. But she was small, strong, and she fucking grabbed me, okay? And I was like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "I'm actually here with my boyfriend." And so that was that. But oddly enough, I was not disgusted, threatened, grossed out, anything by that experience, but it's because she was a woman. Like, I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel offended. But she made...
Okay, but did she call you sugar tits?
No, she said I had nice tits. That's what she said. She told me I had nice tits, which she's not wrong. However... You see what I'm saying? Like, from her, I liked, I took the compliment.
Right.
Like, "Oh, thank you so much." I remember saying that specifically. I was like, "Thank you so much." It's just a different vibe.
Pulls the nipple out. Here you go.
I'm like, look, great ratio. Am I right? Yeah. No. But so it's a whole different feeling, guys. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that it's just different because femininity presents differently, right? Her presence didn't threaten me. Her body didn't threaten me. Arguably her tact, maybe not great, but we're fine. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But you know what was key? I was like, "Oh, taken, boyfriend, blah, blah, blah." It's like, I remember she said, "It's all right, sweetheart." Got me my drink, walked away. Ask me how much that tiny dude that called me sugar tits lingered around said sugar tits for the rest of the night. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So like, I feel like that idea of like non-femme lesbian is not feminine. No, I think that's a whole ass myth, to be honest with you. I think there's this like whole energy about more mask presenting lesbians that is recognizable as like, oh, that's more masculine, but
I'm not gonna lie, when a mask lesbian tells me I'm hot, I probably take it better than when a gay man tells me I'm hot.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
I'm 100% sure she's not interested in me whatsoever.
Right.
But she's going out of her way to tell me that I'm hot. So I'm going to take that and run with it.
Yeah.
Because it's meaningful.
Exactly.
When a gay man tells me, I know they want to sleep with me. When a straight man tells me, I know they're joking around. You know?
Right.
But when a lesbian, like when a masked lesbian tells me, I know she means it.
She means it. She 100% means it. And so I think that's those gray spaces in, you know, femme culture, right? That need to be like more acknowledged. Because again, like, I don't know about you guys, but I have some, you know, mask presenting lesbian family members that are super feminine in the fact that they take care of their family and their mothers, and they, you know, do all these things that are traditionally feminine things to do. But if you see them in the street, you never know.
Our like couples episode where we talked about like gender roles and like couple roles and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to it, and I don't. It's weird to mention again, but I don't think when it comes down to queer couples, those rules out the
apply. Door. Question. I have a quick question, because my partner and I have talked about this before. So, what do you think is behind the phenomena? And I do call it a phenomena because it's that present. Okay. What do you think there is behind a straight woman that was with a cis man, okay, had kids, got divorced, left, separated, whatever, and went straight to dating a lesbian, entered into a lesbian relationship, and most of the time, the dynamic is femme presenting woman, divorces, goes on to date a mask presenting lesbian. What do you think that is? Because it's like prevalent, and all of you guys in Texas know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And same thing with gay men. So
okay.
Yeah, gay ambiguous men dating, having children with a woman, divorce, then start dating a very masculine, dominant gay man.
Gay man. Okay.
So it's like reverse, but like the same.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In my opinion, that comes down to like, this person was always either bisexual or gay, and they never wanted to admit it to themselves. Therefore, they went on with the facade of dating, marrying, having children, living the white picket fence life, and then deciding that once this partner either divorced and or died, they decided to live their truth. And so that is, once again, I repeat, exclusively my opinion, but that's what I've noticed with my experience. Well, no, let's not go to that extent, but like over 20 years of experience in like dating and knowing gay people. Like that's primarily what I've noticed. Like they wanted to live that expectation from others where they have the white picket fence and the family. But once that person passed or once they divorced, because it didn't work out, obviously, they decided to go with their truth. And so that's unfortunate, because you should be able to express your truth from the beginning.
Always.
And if you want to have children, hey,
Yeah.
look at Ricky Martin. He's a full grown ass gay man and has 3 adopted children, or is it 4? I can't even remember. But that's my thing. Like, it is very much so trying to live that facade and that expectation from others versus like living your truth. Because I don't think this person randomly woke up and said, "Oh my God, I'm so intrigued by this masked lesbian. I have to date her or marry her or whatever." Or, "Oh my God, I'm so intrigued by this dominant, muscular, musky, furry man that I need to date him now." You know, like, that's where my mind is. Like, I know this person was living through it. Like, prime example, Caitlyn Jenner. You know, like, she lived her entire life being this successful athlete,
masculine man,
right? Yeah, successful athlete, married this woman, had children with her, then realized after divorcing her that they didn't necessarily want to be a man anymore. They were hiding their true identity, and so they transitioned into a woman. Now that they are a woman, they want to date women because, you're a fucking lesbian. Right. And you're a femme presenting lesbian, you know?
Right.
And so that's the thing. I think, to answer your question, it is all a facade. It is all trying to live up to expectations.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's what ends up being what you're drawn to, because it's the closest thing you've been cosplaying, if you will.
Absolutely.
In the real world.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's this thing where he's like, why is that? Like, every time. I'm like, oh, I know. And it is really interesting. But I think, maybe this is like my bias, but, it's something lesbians do really well, man. They can play those two sides of the coin really, really well, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing. But again, I think that's all of us, right? And so I think, like, going into Pride Month, especially this month, because, like, really, before we started recording the episode, like, we do plan out a lot of the stuff that we want to talk to you guys about. And I had floated the idea to Fonz of being like, okay, so our first kickoff episode should be like, queer news, like, where are we in the world? And then we just got really depressed.
Immediately depressed. We were like, no, let's not cover that.
Maybe not. So all that to say is, like, the situation in the world in general is trash, and the situation for queer folks has not improved in the past year.
If anything, it has retrograded.
100%.
Going back, I'm sorry to interrupt, because I do.
No, please.
If you, Suki, haven't watched We're Here, and if you listener, having watched We're Here, they're currently in Oklahoma, and so it is very nerve-wracking, the situation that is going down in Oklahoma, because even the idea of doing a drag show in Oklahoma is breaking their soul. Like, they had to tone it down to a meet and greet in Oklahoma. And so I think that just comes to show, like, where we're currently at as far as, like, the queer community. Yes, some states might be amazing to live in. Prime example, California, San Francisco, like, you want to live there. New York, Manhattan, and it's called Manhattan. It's not called New York. But anyway, that's another, like, city you want to live in, like Manhattan is, like, prime example of, like, queer welcomeness and, like, open to queer culture. There's 98% of the US that isn't as welcoming as we would want it to be. So just think about that, especially coming into the new Pride Month.
Yeah, the new Pride Month. Yeah. So it's just something to think about and something to keep in the front of, your mind as you go into this Pride Month. Make sure you stay safe, right? Obviously. But one of the reasons why we kicked off this episode with talking about femme and femininity and these sort of like, I don't want to call them like outliers in the community, but really these things that need to be talked about in the community, right? Like, the reason for that is because we want to make sure that we are remembering to be inclusive, right? And to be welcoming, and to remember that every Pride Month, the fight isn't over. It's not over until no matter what, until we all have bodily autonomy, until we are all seen and equal rights under the law. Like that, until that day happens, we are not done.
And I want to say equal rights and equal protection.
Equal protection under the law. We're not done. And so that's why Pride Month is so important every single year. And so if we, want to keep it positive, let's celebrate the diversity in our communities, right?
100%. 100%.
How different any queer person can look, act, do, all of these things, because queer folks are your doctors, queer folks are your lawyers, queer folks are your EMTs, your firefighters, your literally every single fucking job in society. There are queer people there, right? So this isn't something that exists outside of your everyday. You've seen a queer person today, whether you knew it or not, you've interacted with one today.
Yep.
So I think for me, like, femme or not femme, let's analyze our aversion towards certain things, and just be honest and welcoming.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. And I think to close out this episode, I want to say, if you are gay, straight, queer, bisexual, whatever, live your femme fantasy, whatever that means to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever being feminine means to you, live it.
Yes. Live it and be very unapologetic about it.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Because I just I know that it's easy to focus in on the very loud voices that never apologize for voicing their shitty, divisionary, exclusionary, disgusting opinions. They never worry about sharing them. So I think we shouldn't worry
100%
about sharing a message and an attitude,
and we should be twice as loud. And
be just, again, we all have our personal preferences, but let's be honest. About where they come from. But again, as Fawn said at the top of the episode, it's super, super important. We want to highlight your stories. We want to highlight your experience. So please send us your coming out stories, your all of that, so that we can shout it out.
Once again, I repeat, even if you are still in the closet, even if you're still struggling to come out, write us. Let us know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can help you. Maybe.
Yeah. You never know. And on that vein, really quickly, thank you so much to those of you that have reached out to us over the past couple of weeks. We so appreciate you. We so hear you. And we're glad to have been able to talk to you and provide any cockamamie advice we're able to give you. We're super happy to do it. And we're so grateful that you reached out, because that's been happening quite a bit over the past couple of weeks or so. So just a quick shout out to those cutie patoots that have reached out, because we love you. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
All right. So that has been our episode for General Queery.
Welcome to Pride Month, guys. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.